A few days ago, Nintendo finally dropped the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection containing ports of 3 of Mario's 3D games, Super Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. Over the past few days, I've been having an absolute blast playing through each of these games and either replaying one of my favorites with 64, or playing one I've never played before like Sunshine. And Galaxy is there as well. However, after playing this collection quite a bit, several problems and disappointments begin to show themselves, so today I wanted to go over some changes I would make to this collection in the form of updates, assuming this collection gets any updates at all. Now when I say changes, I don't mean huge brand new additions, so stuff like adding Mario Galaxy 2 or adding more content to the games already present in the collection won't be on this list. I want this video to be realistic enough to where pretty much everything here could have a shot. Now I know this video may come off as me hating on the collection, but that is absolutely not the case. I've been absolutely loving this and I'm super happy that it finally came to the Switch at all. But that doesn't mean it can't be improved. Take this video as more of a hopeful video for new changes in the future. Some of these will be extremely small things, while others may be on the larger side, so don't be surprised if I go through a few of these quite quickly. Before we start, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and maybe even subscribe, but with that out of the way, let's jump right into the changes I hope get made to the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection through some updates. The changes in this video aren't really in any particular order here, but first off, let's take a look at a change that everybody was expecting, but just didn't happen. I'm of course talking about Mario 64 having widescreen support. As it is right now, Mario 64 doesn't fill up the entirety of the Switch's screen, but instead has these black bars at the edges. What's even more annoying is that it doesn't even fill the screen vertically because it also has black lines up there as well. For the purposes of this video, I'll be making the Mario 64 gameplay a bit zoomed in so that it goes all the way to the top and bottom of the screen, just so that it looks a bit nicer. It was especially weird that this didn't happen as Mario Sunshine was given widescreen support, but not Mario 64 for whatever reason. What I hope they do is either just do what they did with Sunshine and just make the game straight up full screen, which I'd prefer, or they could add custom borders. These would help a ton in making the screen just not feel empty, but instead a lot more interesting. Having many different options, including just a default black one for those who want it, would be very nice to have. Even a very simple border like the ones used in the Nintendo Switch Online games could work here as well. Of course, like I said, just making it fully widescreen would be preferable, but if they just want to add in borders, that wouldn't be all too bad. Also, I absolutely do not want them to just stretch it out because that looks really bad. Make the camera itself actually cover more rather than just stretching. Giving this widescreen support could really help the game look a lot nicer, along with the enhanced UI and texture changes that have already happened in the game, so I really hope that they add in widescreen support in some sort of update. While we're on the topic of widescreen, apparently they just never adjusted this effect in Super Mario Sunshine when you use the turbo nozzle underwater to fit the full screen. I haven't actually gotten to a point in the game yet where I can actually see this. However, if this is true, this might just be the most extreme sign of laziness I've seen, and if this isn't fixed, that'd be extremely disappointing. Honestly though, I think it's the most likely thing to get fixed in an update though, since it's the most obvious thing on this list that's not supposed to be that way. A second issue with Sunshine's porting job are these cubes. Now to people like me who have never played Sunshine before, you may not know what's important about these, but as it turns out, these cubes aren't present in the original game. These are debug cubes for what I assume is testing this area, which were of course removed from the final game. However, if the game was emulated, these would appear, and that's exactly what happened in this collection. This is again another big sign of laziness with Sunshine's port that I think should be fixed. This one I see a little less likely though. It's a little less obvious that these aren't intentionally placed here unlike this. However, I still think it's got a decent chance of being fixed. It's just really obvious how lazy they were with these two things just not being fixed. It seems like they didn't even try the games that they ported over here, so I really think these things should be fixed. This is the run! I said it, so it has to be. In Mario Odyssey, you can do fun jumps to skip everything. In this, you have to actually play the game, and that's why I hate it, because I don't like playing the game how it's meant to be. This I can't do anything. I just gotta wait for this freaking cube to stop moving. I swear to God! Well, since we've talked a bit about the other two games, let's talk about some changes I'd make to Galaxy. First off, why'd they remove the ability to make the save files planets your Mii? The Switch still has a Mii Maker, so would it really be that hard to allow this? It's not really a huge deal, but it just feels so weird that they would remove a feature like this that should be easy to keep in. It just feels like another thing that they just didn't feel like going through the trouble of implementing back. I guess it could be due to the Miis having more options now, like hair colors and such, but come on, they really can't take the time to make it work. Now this next one is different from the last few in that this was a weird thing that was actually in the original game, and that is Mario's reflection. Now some of you may think it looks fine, until he turns around. Mario's reflection just doesn't have pupils for whatever reason. I guess it was hard to tell on the original, however with it being in HD on the Switch now, it's super easy to spot and it just looks really weird. All they have to do is obviously add in pupils here, which I can't imagine being too hard to do. Then Mario won't look like a knockoff Herobrine before Herobrine was a thing, but still. Also, Mario's reflections in this game in general are pretty weird. Like, sometimes his reflection will just go over non-reflective surfaces, so I really hope that they do fix the reflection thing in general here. Now I want to talk a little bit about the controls. I actually think they did an extremely good job with the controls in this collection. They made Galaxies way better in my opinion with them putting the pointer as being gyro controlled, which was huge for me. Despite that though, there are a few minor things that I believe they could change to make the controls better for some people. This segment doesn't really apply to me much since this is mostly for others who are used to the original titles. First of all, they should make Sunshine retain its abilities from the GameCube controller when using one. Now the game is of course still compatible with the GameCube controller, however it's just not optimized for it. What I mean by this is since many controls had to be switched or changed for it to work on a Pro controller, it's now different when using the original. Having an option to use the GameCube control scheme when using that controller may help a lot of people enjoy the game more. Personally, I think the Pro controller works great, however having the option would be nice. One big change that they actually did make to the games is inverting some of their cameras. This means changing the camera in, say, 64 for example is flipped from what it used to be. I personally like how it is now, however there have been quite a few people who play Super Mario 64 very often that like it the other way. Simply having an option for those players to go back to the original camera mode would be very nice. Like I said before, these two things in this segment really don't affect me at all, however I feel like just having more options in a game will just make it much better. Now speaking of the camera controls, I kinda wanted to touch on changing the camera for these games. Now this is the closest I'll get in this video to actually adding in a brand new feature rather than just changing something, but I just still wanted to bring it up. The cameras in all of these games, especially in Mario Galaxy, are pretty bad at times, and making them work more like Odyssey's camera would be such an amazing improvement to these games. I don't expect this to happen at all, but I would love to see this change. Galaxy's camera in particular caused me to die so many times because it wouldn't let me see what I was doing, and the same for 64 just to a lesser extent, but that might be because I know the levels there better. I don't need them to be as good as Mario Odyssey's near flawless camera, I just want them to be improved so that these games feel a bit more modern and fun to play. Now I don't see this one ever really happening, but I can dream. It's just the camera controls in Galaxy 99% of the time don't even work, and I would love to see this changed. Seriously though, it's like I can almost never use the camera controls at all. It's almost always just locked, which is just super annoying because it's always locked in the worst spots. Now I wanted to jump into a few small miscellaneous changes for all the games. First off, they should definitely fix the typos. Now, I'm not sure how many there are as I unfortunately do not have a big enough brain to know what every single sign says in every single game, but I do know that Yoshi retains his typo from the original Mario 64. Instead of saying, "Is that really you?" he says, "It that really you." I'm honestly pretty surprised that this went unchanged as this piece of dialogue is fairly well known. They did change a few other pieces of dialogue in Mario 64 like Bowser's here at the end to fit more with the Switch's control, so it's obviously possible for them to change dialogue. Like many of the changes I suggested for Sunshine, this one will help these ports feel much less lazy and feel like they made an effort. I mean, obviously they enhanced the graphics, which make the games look pretty clean now, but it's the other small things that just make the game seem pretty lazy overall. Speaking of another lazy thing is that the opening cutscene and tutorial for Sunshine, Flood explains how to use his controls. However, as I said earlier, the controls were changed to work with a Pro controller, so this means that Flood's spoken dialogue here would need to be changed. Instead of getting the voice actor to re-record his lines, they decided to just awkwardly cut out words. Take a listen.
If you press the button, you can stop and shoot. You can then press the button to hover in the air for a short time. To refill tank, enter a body of water and press the button.
This is probably the most blatant example of laziness besides the rocket nozzle thing from earlier. This just sounds so bad and I have no idea how this was approved. This sounds like something that was made for a joke in a YouTube video with sentence mixing.
Oh my God, Sith!
They should have the actor re-record their lines, or if they can't, they should recast Flood or something because as it stands, it just sounds really bad. I understand it can be expensive, but come on, Nintendo's going to make enough money off of this collection to rehire the voice actor and barely lose anything at all. The final miscellaneous game change I'd like to see is the draw distance, especially in Mario 64, to be extended. If you don't know what this means, it's basically we'll have objects that aren't part of the level's geometry, like coins or enemies, unload when Mario is too far away from them. In Mario 64 especially, this is super obvious and can be annoying when hunting for 100 coin stars, as you won't be able to tell where coins are unless you're super close. This was originally done, of course, to save resources on the Nintendo 64, however, now that it's on the Switch, it should be easily capable of extending that draw distance by so much that it wouldn't even be noticeable. The draw distance now is just far too short, and it can make even large things like these platforms in Rainbow Ride unnaturally disappear and reappear. This goes for the other games as well, though they're significantly less noticeable or important. The only time I noticed this in Galaxy was in this level with the bricks in the background, so they really don't have to change these ones. It's mostly just Mario 64, but if they could improve the other ones, that'd be nice too. Another small thing that I think would be nice is if the game could track which one of the three you're playing when it displays your online. If you didn't know, the Switch will actually say which game you're playing if you're using the SNES or NES online service. This would be a really neat thing in my opinion to add here. Additionally, I think it'd be really cool if it could track how many hours you have in each game individually. I always like to see which games I have more or less time in, so even though it isn't super important, I think it would be a very nice change to have added in. Even if it won't track on the main menu of the Switch, maybe it could track within 3D All-Stars itself and then it could tell you. Also, total side note, but I really miss the 3DS's way of tracking time played, with it telling you exactly how long you've played, how many times you've played, your average playtime, and more. I love flipping through this menu, so I hope this gets added to the Switch someday. Even though it probably won't, I just really miss this menu so much. Now that we've talked about the games themselves, I want to go over the main menu a bit. Now, a lot of people don't like how this main menu looks, but I actually feel quite the opposite. Sure, it could be better, but it's way better than the original Mario All-Stars, that's for sure. The main things I would change are what the menu actually contains. Let's take a look at the music. This is pretty much the only bonus feature that was added into this collection, which is pretty disappointing by itself. However, it's not even really that well done. There's a ton of changes I feel that should be made to this area. First, it's really bizarre that they didn't add in a progress bar so you can see how long a song goes for. This seems like an essential for a music menu, so it's very weird to not have it here. Another feature I'd add into this would be some sort of playlist maker. That way you could make a playlist to listen to that you could either just play normally, loop, or play songs randomly from. You'd be able to add any song from any game into here, which would make this whole music menu much more complete to me. Basically, just make it like Smash Ultimate's music menu. Speaking of, Ultimate's sound menu would be pretty cool if there was some sort of sound effect menu that you could listen to like you can in Smash. They already include some of Mario's voice lines in the Mario 64 menu for some reason, so it'd be really cool if they created a sound effect menu to just mess around with for a bit. The last suggestion I have is to give the menu a bit more things to do, like maybe have a place where we can just view artwork for each of the games. They already display some whenever you start a game, so just move these into a gallery of some kind and boom. This may be more of an addition than a change to the menu, but I thought I should mention it since this menu could use a few smaller changes to do in it to make the package seem more fresh and complete. Now the final change I want to this collection, the one that would easily get me the most excited, something that will probably never happen, the re-addition of the backwards long jump. Now I know what all of you might be thinking, patch a glitch back into the game? Why would they ever do that? Well, I don't think they will, but the reason I want them to is just because it makes Mario 64 extremely more entertaining to not only watch but play as well. If you all didn't know, in the original Mario 64, if Mario long jumped backwards repeatedly and quickly enough, he could gain a ton of speed due to the developers not putting a cap on his backwards momentum. This allowed the game to be able to be beaten in 0 stars and open up just a ton of possibilities. The reason that it isn't on the Switch version is because they decided to bring over a version of Mario 64 that actually patched this out. As far as I can tell, this is one of the only glitches that they actually patched. Mips clip still works, bomb clip still works, the hat and hand glitch still works, and so many more. The backwards long jump can't really harm the game in any way and was just a fun thing to perform successfully and enabled so many different types of speedruns to be possible. I was considering running 16 star, but since the backwards long jump isn't in this version, I can't. Well, you can do frame perfect wall jumps to gain enough speed, however those are frame perfect tricks and I really don't feel like doing that. I know it's a glitch and I know it's a weird thing to ask for, but it really opened up so many possibilities. This is possibly the most famous glitch of all time next to Super Mario Bros. Minus World. I remember spending hours on the Wii Virtual Console version just trying to do BLJs wherever I could, and to see them gone, it's kind of sad. I know it won't happen because Nintendo would never patch in a glitch, but if I was able to make one change to this collection, it'd 100% be to add the backwards long jump back into Mario 64. It just opened up so many possibilities that there's no other choice for me. I really hope that they add this back in, but I doubt they ever will. Mario 64 is of course still great without it, however, it just feels like it's not complete without the backwards long jump. But anyways, that's it for this video. I did want to mention the game's limited release before we end here, and yeah, that's really stupid, so Nintendo, could you just not do that please? But yeah, how are you all enjoying the collection so far? Let me know in the comments. I'm having a blast with this so far, and I can't wait to make more videos on these games, which if you have any suggestions, let me know down there in the comments as well. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, and maybe even subscribe for more on Mario and anything else Nintendo Switch. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Drybones for Smash. So you thought I'd forget, didn't you? How could I ever forget my boy Drybones? But anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.